right, hello everyone. So it is July 13th, and the reason I'm saying that is because there was an event that happened today. A couple events, but the main one, at least with the media right now, and the most important one, is the assassination attempt that happened on Trump. Whichever way you feel about it is irrelevant. The fact of the matter is that this is yet another point in history that you and I are living through that will be read about decades from now as a warning to other generations of what not to do or where things will lead when, society hits a certain point. And I am just really tired of living in these particularly interesting times, because there are going to be some sociologists years from now, and their PhDs are going to be based on covering this time in history. And it's exhausting. It is truly exhausting to be living through this. When you think about all of the stuff that, if you are my age or around my age, we've lived through. You look at 9/11, you look at two major financial collapses, if not three if you count the dot-com bubble. Pandemics, civil unrest. It's exhausting. I just would like to have a couple years of it being really boring. That would be nice. That'd be very nice. Probably not going to happen, but whatever. Anyway, the reason I'm bringing up what happened today is because I was trying to figure out what I was going to discuss on this episode. And my issue when it comes to things is I have a lot of ideas, but it's very hard for me to focus on one thing. And when this happened today, immediately I knew what I was going to talk about. And the topic I want to discuss today is hate. I am not making a statement about hate, about whether it's right or wrong. Personally, I think most ranges of emotion and how we handle things are valid in certain situations. I think there are plenty of things that hate is a valid response. Whenever people say, oh no, you shouldn't hate. No, there are plenty of things I think that warrant hatred. There are plenty of points of view or ways that people act that warrant hatred. I'm not here to tell you what they are, but the thing that I want to bring up is the fact that hatred, anger, all of these things are the easiest to mobilize. They really are. And that's what we're seeing right now. We are seeing, especially with social media, especially with this idea that we have of choice in this nation. You've got a bunch of choices. They're all paper or plastic, though. That's the issue. Whatever your political viewpoints are, you have a channel you can go to for that. And you can choose to be in an echo chamber. You can choose to vilify whoever it is you want, and you will find someone out there that will not only back up your position, but reinforce your position. And, why is it the case that hatred is so easy to mobilize? That's something that interests me, because it's not the other way. It's very difficult to, mobilize things like peace and understanding, right? I'll give you an example of that. Think about how different the world could be right? We often look at the world, myself included. I am much more of a pessimist than anything else. And my friends, they understand that 100%. And one thing I bitch about a lot in my personal life is there is such a discrepancy between how the world could be versus how the world is. And it's a wild discrepancy. When you look at wealth inequality, when you look at the fact that you have people literally starving to death every day, you look at the terrible things that are going on. And yet, that massive disparity could be resolved and the world could be not a much better place, but a near perfect place if everyone decided to do a small action. That's the thing. Imagine how clean your city or your neighborhood would be if everyone who lived there woke up that day and said, you know what, I'm going to pick up one piece of trash. Just one. I'm going to do something that is tiny. But if everyone does that, imagine the transformation that makes. One of my favorite books is a book called Einstein's Dreams. And there's this scene in there, this chapter in there where this person comes from the future. And I'm going to butcher it, but it essentially states that when people come to visit the past to see how their ancestors lived, they took great care with every step that they took, knowing that any deviation, any small effect that they produced could have major effects down the line. And that's something that we don't recognize, is that the effects we have now are going to have major impacts later. But that just seems to be so difficult to instill in people or to try and live that way. Instead, the reason why it's easier to mobilize hate than love is hate I can look in the past. Hate I can say, this didn't happen for me. And now I'm going to find someone to demonize. Instead of if I'm going to mobilize, peace, understanding, love, all that stuff, I now have to keep in mind the future. I have to say, you know what? I'm going to forgive these things that happened to me. I'm not going to hold grudges, or I'm going to go out of my way to do an act for someone that I don't know if it's going to have a big impact on their life or a small impact on their life. But it doesn't matter. I'm just going to make it a point to do this act. I'm going to be proactive. Whereas hate is always a reactionary type thing. And so the reason I bring that up is politics right now is the new religion, as far as I'm concerned. It's the new Sunni, Shia, it's the new Catholic, Protestant. That's where we are in America, but I think a lot of places in the world. Probably not as bad in other places as it is here in general. But here it's not good because you have economic inequality. You have a ridiculous system that's set up that I had said in previous videos, essentially tells you to be a battery, and that's it. You work, and then once you're no longer useful, you die, and that's it. You make as much money as you can, and everything has a price, nothing has a value. That is the society that we seem to live in right now. And so hate is going to be very easily mobilized. And it's politicians. It's these people. It's a system that tells you to hate on another person's behalf, which is where you lose your humanity. Again, I don't think the concept of hatred in general is something that should be avoided. I think it's a very powerful tool that if you're going to say you hate something, you need to analyze why and what it is you're hating. Are you hating an ideology? Are you hating a group of people? Those are very, very important distinctions to make. But so often hate is just on behalf of another person. Hate is there as a way to be part of a group. And that is one of the quickest ways to lose your humanity. And so I would just encourage you to really focus on, when you're watching the news, when you're watching politics, am I being asked to hate on someone else's behalf?